feel free to follow along and chant along if you feel comfortable doing so. It's on page 18. And the 10 Bodhisattva precepts are especially relevant for the month of January, as we just started the Bodhisattva class. And so students of the Bodhisattva class are committing to a daily practice, journaling practice, study, as well as volunteering here, setting everything up at the temple on Sundays, and meeting on the first Saturday of each month for the next 8 months. So it's quite a commitment, and 10 Bodhisattva precepts. First precept: do not harm but cherish all life. If you violate this precept, you will destroy your seed of compassion. Therefore, you will not be able to go forth on the Bodhisattva path. Second precept: do not take what is not given, but respect the things of others. If you violate this precept, you will destroy your seed of virtue. Therefore, you will not be able to go forth on the Bodhisattva path. Third precept: do not engage in sexual misconduct, but practice purity of mind and self-restraint. If you violate this precept, you will destroy your seed of purity. Therefore, you will not be able to go forth on the Bodhisattva path. Fourth precept: do not lie, but speak the truth. If you violate this precept, you will destroy your seed of truth. Therefore, you will not be able to go forth on the Bodhisattva path. Fifth precept: do not involve yourself in the trade of liquors and drugs, which confuse or weaken the mind, but keep your mind calm and clear. If you violate this precept, you will destroy your seed of wisdom. Therefore, you will not be able to go forth on the Bodhisattva path. Sixth precept: do not speak of the misdeeds of others, but try to understand them with sympathy. If you violate this precept, you will destroy your seed of friendship. Therefore, you will not be able to go forth on the Bodhisattva path. Seventh precept: do not praise yourself nor condemn others. If you violate this precept, you will destroy your seed of respect. Therefore, you will not be able to go forth on the Bodhisattva path. Eighth precept: do not withhold your aid, material or spiritual, but give freely of yours wherever there is need. If you violate this precept, you will destroy your seed of wealth and generosity. Therefore, you will not be able to go forth on the Bodhisattva path. Ninth precept: do not hold on to anger, but be forgiving. If you violate this precept, you will destroy your seed of happiness. Therefore, you will not be able to go forth on the Bodhisattva path. 10th precept. Do not disparage the Triyatna, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, but uphold them. If you violate this precept, you will destroy your seed of faith. Therefore, you will not be able to go forth on the Bodhisattva path. Thanks, everyone. We will now maintain noble silence until the start of service.
At this time, I would like to invite up our incense lighters. And if you will join us in chanting our incense lighting gatha on page 2 of your booklet. Chunko. And together we say, in gratitude, we offer this incense throughout space and time to all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. May it be fragrant as earth herself, reflecting careful efforts, wholehearted awareness, and the fruit of understanding slowly ripening. May we and all beings be companions of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. May we awaken from forgetfulness and realize our true home. Good morning, everyone. It's so good to see so many of you joining us for service today, and also those who are joining from home. Glad to have you online with us. And if you're joining in the future, watching the recorded version of this, we're glad to have you too. So just a few reminders. Courtesy announcements. If you need to use the restroom and this is your first time here, we have 2 restrooms just on the other side of that curtain. There's also a sink and some paper cups if you do need to grab some water. There is also water at the front near our greeter. If you do find that you need to take a little break, whether it's from the incense smoke or you've got small children that are getting kind of wiggly, there is some, you can go downstairs. There's a bathroom down there, water fountain, kitchen, help yourself to some tea. And anything else that you see down there. So the idea here is to be comfortable and you're not bothering anyone. If you find that you need to get up and go do something, just go do it, okay? Because this is for your well-being as well. So we are going to start our service by standing up and greeting each other silently with bows. So in your booklet on page 3, I believe, we are going to chant the 3 refuges together. I go for refuge to Buddha, my deeply awakened mind, the living source of understanding and compassion, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I go for refuge to Dharma, the path of mindful living, leading to healing, joy, and enlightenment, the way of peace, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I go for refuge to the Sangha, the loving and supportive community of practice, realizing harmony, awareness, and liberation, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I am aware that the 3 jewels are within my heart. I vow to realize them. I vow to practice mindful breathing and smiling, looking deeply into things. I vow to understand living beings and their suffering. I vow to cultivate loving kindness and compassion, and to practice joy and equanimity. I vow to offer joy to one person in the morning, and to help relieve the grief of one person in the afternoon. I vow to live simply and sanely, content with few possessions, and to keep my body healthy. I vow to let go of all worries and anxiety in order to be light and free. I am aware that I owe so much to my parents, teachers, friends, and all beings. I vow to be worthy of their trust, to practice wholeheartedly, so that understanding and compassion will flower, and I can help living beings be free from their suffering. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. And on the next page, page 4, you'll find the Heart Sutra, and we will chant that together. As you sing this, bring the joy and compassion that the Buddha inspires us to find within our reality into your heart, and listen for any secret messages that might come to you as you're chanting this or singing this in a way with us. Dharma Rajya Paramita Hridaya Sutra. The Bodhisattva of great compassion from the deep practice of Prajna Paramita perceive the emptiness of all five skandhas and deliver all beings from their suffering. O Shariputra, form is no other than emptiness, emptiness no other than form. Form is emptiness, emptiness form. The same is true of feeling, thought, impulse, and consciousness. O Shariputra, all dharmas are empty. They are not born nor annihilated. They are not defiled nor immaculate. They do not increase nor decrease. So in emptiness, no form, no feeling, no thought, no impulse, no consciousness. No eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind. No form, sound, smell, taste, touch, or objects of mind. No realm of sight. No realm of consciousness. No ignorance, nor extinction of ignorance. No old age and death, nor extinction of them. No suffering, no cause of suffering, no cease from suffering, no path to lead out of suffering, no knowledge, no attainment, no realization, for there is nothing to attain. The Bodhisattva holds on to nothing but Prajna Paramita. Therefore the mind is clear of any delusive hindrance. Without hindrance there is no fear. Away from all delusive views, one reaches final nirvana. All who is of past, present, and future, through faith in Prajna Paramita, attain to the highest perfect enlightenment. Know then the Prajna Paramita is the great Dharani, the radiant fearless mantram, the utmost supreme mantram, which is capable of allaying all pain. This is true beyond all doubt. Proclaim now the highest wisdom, the Prajna Paramita. Gate, gate, para, gate, para samgate, bodhisvaha. Gate, gate, para, gate, para samgate, bodhisvaha. Gate, gate, para, gate, para samgate, bodhisvaha. Dharma Rajna Paramita Hridaya Sutra. And we bow. And before you take a seat, for those of you who have a prostration practice, and a prostration practice is something that you learn in the Precepts program. You practice it in Bodhisattva's program. You also learn it in some of our other programs. We invite you to engage in that. It's a symbol of humility, of recognizing, using our body, recognizing these teachings as something that we strive for. In a sense, you can think of it as we are bowing down and honoring these teachings. So if you can stay standing while we perform this, and then once I've sat down, that's when you can start yours. And then once everybody's done, we'll all take a seat. Kind of a process, and I know we don't do this every Sunday. This is just important to the way that I practice in my lineage. And I think it's something that if you have a practice, being able to do it in a holy place like a temple is an important way to engage in your practice with your body. And there's no right or wrong way to do this. So if you were like, oh yeah, I'm going to sit down. Oh wait, they're still doing prostrations. Oh no. The thing about what this guy up here, the one who's the wooden statue, the one that we all honor by coming and practicing, and the one who brought us these teachings, is that really the only person who's judging you is yourself. So where does that judgment come from? It comes from our perception of judgment, which there's only one place and one person responsible for that. We like to say that everybody else, oh, well, my parents are the reason that I judge, the people I grew up around, the teachers that I had. But in reality, where's the judgment coming from? Right. So my name is Igye Su. I study in the Gelugpa lineage of the Tibetan lineage or Tibetan schools of Buddhism. The Gelugpa lineage was founded by Tsongkhapa, and his years were 1357 to 1419. The school that the Dalai Lama studies in is the Gelugpa lineage. And you'll find that each of the teachers here at the temple study in different lineages. And those teachings, all that basically means is that each school organized what the Buddha taught in a different way. And in this particular lineage, we call it the consequent school, or the sorry, it's a Sanskrit, and sometimes it comes to me and sometimes it doesn't. We're the Prasangika school. Okay. So what that means is we're known as the consequent school, and there's a whole other explanation that I won't get into, but there's different ways that people have digested the Buddha's teachings over time. And they've said, no, the Buddha taught in this way. No, the Buddha taught in that way. And in reality, when we think about the whole message, which is to get to liberation, to stop suffering, right? So that's kind of where you'll see my approach come from. And today I wanted to talk about a story that is, I haven't really heard it a whole lot, but when I did hear it, it was really profound for me. And there was a famous teacher. His name was Master Asanga. His dates are roughly 350 AD. If you're familiar with Master Vasubandhu, that was his half brother, and Master Vasubandhu is responsible for the Abhidharmakosha, so kind of the very philosophical book on Buddhist psychology. Okay, so this story talks about his Master Asanga's practice, one of his practices where he wanted to meet Maitreya, the future Buddha. And Maitreya is prophesized to appear in the world. So right now, there's this idea that Maitreya is still a bodhisattva because we haven't seen another Buddha in this world for many, many years since Siddhartha Gautama. And so the idea is that this future Buddha will appear, and they're known as Maitreya. And Maitreya means compassionate friend. And there's a whole other, I guess you could say lore that goes around Maitreya. And whether or not it's, believable or not is really up to your mind to decide. And so this story about Asanga, he had this goal when he was first starting as a Dharma student. He was like, I want to meet Maitreya. I want to meet them in my meditations. I want to see them in the world. I want to know that they're real. I want to have zero doubt that there is somebody else coming to help all living beings. And so while this Asanga was already a very accomplished meditator, very accomplished Dharma student, they decided to go off into a cave and meditate and say, I'm not coming out of this cave until I meet Maitreya and until I learn from them, till they teach me everything they know. And so he goes to this mountain, Cuckoo, I'm not even going to attempt to say this name, a mountain somewhere in India, and begins this multi-year retreat. And so he meditates every day, and he's reciting Maitreya's holy mantra, visualizing him, making offerings to him. And it went on for 6 years. He never saw Maitreya, not even in his dreams. Like Maitreya was like, sorry, not here, dude. See you later. And so he became really discouraged. He's like 6 years sitting in a cave, probably eating like bugs and, fermented plants that, he somehow managed to live on. And just kind of like, how much more can I handle this? Is this really worth it? And am I wasting my time when I could be teaching other people how to be kind? And so he does the closing rituals for his retreat, and he packs up his things and he walks down the mountain, and he comes upon a man that's rubbing a huge iron pole with a soft cloth. And he says, hey, what you doing? And this guy says, well, I needed a needle, so I'm going to rub this pole down to fashion it into a needle. And Asanga's like, that's going to take a century, if not longer. And here I am, supposedly a good Dharma practitioner, and I've quit my goal after only 6 years. So he definitely turned around and walked back up the mountain into the cave and sat back down. And so 3 more years, he did the same thing. He practiced continuously. He was like, I'm going to see Maitreya. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I will see him. And he was super positive that something was going to happen. And 3 years pass. Again, nothing happens. And so he did the same thing. He was like, I'm wasting my time. I give up. This isn't possible. I've been doing this for 9 years already. Like, Maitreya is not going to come. Maybe I just don't have the karma yet to see him. I haven't accumulated enough, and I just don't think I'm going to do it in this lifetime. And so he does the closing rituals. He walks back down the mountain. And he comes upon a man at the foot of this towering rock. And this man was dipping a feather in water and then stroking the rock. And he's like, all right, what's this guy doing? Hey, man, what you doing? And this guy says, well, this rock is blocking the sunlight from my house, so I'm wearing it away. And again, Asanga's like, wow, after another 3 years, I come upon another man doing something incredibly strange, something that requires an incredible amount of dedication. And here I am, I've given up my goal of seeing Maitreya, of learning the teachings. So what do you think he did? Went back to the cave, turned around, walked back up the mountain, did the opening rituals, and sat back down in his cave. And 3 more years went by. Still didn't see Maitreya. And he was like, I'm done. I've done 12 years in this cave. I have lived off of the most horrible food. I haven't reached my goal, but I've worked really, really hard. And I really need to go do something that's not feeling like I'm wasting my time. And so as he was walking back down the mountain this time, he didn't come upon any strange men doing strange things. But instead, he came upon a dog. And this dog was paralyzed from the waist down. They were rotting. Their flesh was rotting, and they couldn't see very well. They were in pain, horrible, horrible pain. And every time he'd try to get near the dog would lash out and bite, probably from hunger. And so Asanga, not even thinking of himself, cut off a piece of his own flesh and fed it to the dog. And then he saw that there were these little maggots that had made their home in the back hindquarters of this dog. And he knew that the maggots' bodies were too soft to try and pick out from the dog's hind legs. And he thought, how can I help both of these beings? And so, considering that the only thing he could use was his mouth, that was the softest thing that could manipulate these beings without causing harm to them. And knowing that this was going to be a very hard task to do, he closes his eyes and he bends down to start removing these maggots, and his tongue hits the ground. And he's confused, like, what? And he looks forward and sees the feet of a man. And immediately he looks up, and there is Maitreya Bodhisattva. And he's like, jaw on the floor, but also like, dude, it's been 12 years. What the heck? Why have you been leaving me to do all this for so long? And Maitreya smiles and says, Asanga, I was there the whole time. I was with you in the cave. I was the man with the pole. I was the man with the rock. And even just now, you saw me as a dog in lots of pain. I've always been there. You just didn't have the karma to see me. You didn't have enough compassion in your heart. And so he's like, but I don't understand. And he says, because of your own past negative actions and obscurations, it wasn't until the moment that you saw me as a dog that you still doubted yourself. You still doubted your abilities as being able to wake up. And during those years that you spent in meditation in the cave, you were able to clear away almost all of those obscurations, save for maybe a few karmic seeds left over. And so in this way, I was able to appear to you as this kind of festering dog. And once you had this act of realizing the emptiness of your own flesh and overcome with this experience of compassion, that was when you were finally able to clear away the rest of your negative seeds, your negative obstructions, or the word that we use in the Heart Sutra, ignorance. That was when you could finally see me. And he says, but no, I don't understand. You're standing right here. Like anybody could see you. Anybody could see you. And he was like, if you don't believe me, pick me up and put me on your right shoulder, and let's go into town and see if everyone can see me. And so Asanga was like, dude, you're crazy. And so he picks him up, puts him on his right shoulder, walks into town, assuming that everybody is going to be able to see this incredible being that he was carrying. And he continued to ask people, hey, do you see this guy? Hey, you see this guy on my shoulder? And they were like, nah, you're crazy, and would walk away as quickly as possible. And he continues trying to find somebody in this town that can see Asanga. And he finally comes across an old woman. And this old woman is looking at him like he's nuts. Like, here's some rando coming into town looking like you've been living in a cave for 12 years. And he says, do you see what's on my shoulder? And she's like, yeah, you're carrying a dead dog. And Asanga says, she has the karma. She's very close to her ability to see enlightened beings in the world. She has developed much compassion, but she saw what you saw, which is a dog that's injured. And so after that, Maitreya took Asanga to this pure realm and taught him everything he knew. He taught him everything that there was about reaching enlightenment and how to get there. And so Asanga came back as, master of Buddhism and taught those things. And even now, many, many, many years later, we are still learning of his story. He's still making an impact in the world today. His karma is still rippling out. And one of the vows that in my tradition we take first in the form of a wish and then in the form of action. These are called bodhisattva vows. They're a little bit different than what we study here at the temple. The vow is the white deed of trying to conceive of every living being as the teacher themselves, and to see all beings and things as totally pure. And see, the only way that we're going to be able to do that is by not giving up and consistently practicing and continually returning our minds to the understanding of karma and emptiness. And if you're like, those words are still really foreign to me, karma is understanding cause and effect. I mean, this is very broad. There's a lot much deeper teachings on karma. And then emptiness is understanding that nothing is self-existent from its own side. So we often use the teaching of a pen in my tradition, but I'm going to use the mallet because it's what I have available to me right now. What is this? Yeah, it's not a trick question. It's a mallet, okay? To you, it's a mallet. But what is it to a dog? Chew toy. So which is it, a mallet or a chew toy? Both, and maybe even neither. It's a death stick to a fly, okay? So that is the fact that this thing is changeable depending on what mind is looking at it, okay? So emptiness essentially means that all objects in the known universe have emptiness. Even emptiness has its own emptiness. It's that things only appear to us in the way that we're able to see them, okay? To an ant, or maybe even to a lice, the top of your head looks like a nice forest filled with delicious things, okay? But to you, it's, it's to you, it's maybe, oh man, I'm aging and there's gray up here, okay? They don't see the same thing. And that is some of the basic general proofs of emptiness. And so you might see that other teachers sit on this dais in their robes, and you might see other holy beings like a priest or the Pope or somebody that they consider the next Messiah. And they look a little different, right? But how often are we looking around our world to seeing like the person next to us at a bus stop, or the driver in their car that's frustrated, or the child who is having a good time, but everybody else sees them as being undisciplined? How often are we not acknowledging those beings as teachers? What do I have to learn from this? How am I making this situation permanent? How am I saying that this is a mallet, and if anybody else sees it differently, they're wrong? And how often do we do that with each other? The way you're behaving is wrong. I'm right, you're wrong. My team wins, your team loses. That is part of the process of developing compassion. And I was going to talk on this story every time I talk about it, or every time I read it, like a new message comes up for me. But I think the biggest one is that we have to learn how to overcome these mental afflictions. And the only way to do that is to first recognize that they actually exist, right? When we're caught in frustration, when we're caught in anger, when we're caught in anything that is trying to convince us that things are self-existent from their own side, this thing exudes mallet. No matter who is looking at it, they should always see mallet, okay? There's a great teaching that Geshe Michael, who's the one who brought this lineage to the Western world, in a sense. He went and studied in Tibet and studied the 25-year course to become a Geshe, and came back to America and taught everybody, what he learned. And one of the teachings that I recently heard that was really profound is when you go into, like, let's say you go into Starbucks, right? Somebody give me your favorite thing to order at Starbucks. Shout it out. Caramel latte. Great. I worked there for like 5 years, so like I'm on there. What size? Okay, venti caramel latte. Let's say a venti caramel latte costs $6.75. Okay. Now, if you have $6.75 in your pocket, maybe in the form of a gift card, maybe it's cash, maybe it's on some kind of other plastic thing. If you go into Starbucks, are you going to be able to buy a venti caramel latte? What do you think? Now, this is where the part of observation comes in. What happens if they don't have any coffee? You still going to be able to get that venti caramel latte? No. What if they're closed because the manager got sick and couldn't open the door? You still going to get that venti caramel latte? So the point being is that $6.75 does not equal caramel latte. There are so many more factors that go into caramel latte. But how often are we thinking that this is permanent? What is my expectation of reality is the way that it's going to appear. And we fail to see that things aren't really what they appear to be, just the same way that Asanga misunderstood the way that Maitreya was showing up to him. And so when you leave temple today, this is a profound teaching, and it's one that takes some time to really wrap your brain around, because we're so used to seeing reality in a certain way. And when we've habituated, A plus B always equals C, then we tend to see the world that way. We can't really unsee it until we go, oh, it's like all of a sudden, my mom used to describe it as seeing the other side of the beach ball. Okay. So you might see the side of the beach ball that has the white stripe, the red stripe, and the blue stripe. But I might see the side of the beach ball that has the green stripe, the yellow stripe, and the purple stripe. And so although you might see one side and go, no, it's blue and red and white. And I'm like, no, it's yellow, green, and purple. And then all of a sudden somebody comes along and takes the ball, turns it around, and we all go, oh. So as you go through your week, or maybe you fall into a deep love of wanting to learn more Dharma, and, tomorrow you wake up and you're like, I'm going to listen to another Dharma talk. Whenever it is that you find yourself in the presence of the Dharma in a way that your awareness has moved, consider what emptiness has to offer you, and also consider why you see things that way. And that's what karma is. And so, again, once you get up from this cushion, you go out into your car or your bus stop, or you walk, or somebody's picking you up, and you leave this place and you go about your life. Just see if this teaching can come up for you once or twice this week. See if you can notice where reality is really coming from. And so at this time, we're going to go ahead and prepare ourselves for our meditation. All right. Get comfortable. This is the one part of service I ask that you try not to move. You try to find a stillness in your body. But in order to do that, you have to shake it out, stretch it out, move your legs if they're falling asleep. You have to get comfortable, because if you're sitting in meditation, you're like, oh my goodness, my leg is falling asleep and it's the most uncomfortable thing in the world, you're not going to be able to focus. And as we get into the meditation, before we start the analysis portion, I'll give you another opportunity to readjust. If you need cushions, or if you need to find a different way to sit, whatever it is that works for you, there is no right or wrong way. And so we're going to settle into our posture and take a few deep breaths. Your posture will include finding relaxation in the legs, sitting, tipping those hips forward just a little bit, and making sure you have some kind of support at the base of your spine, so you can maintain an upright position without having any kind of pain in your lower back. pulling up through the spine like you're stacking gold coins one on top of the other, allowing the skull to balance ever so gently at the top of that stack of coins. Allowing the arms to relax in whatever comfortable position you find for you. Let the shoulders sink down towards the earth, pulling up through the neck and just tucking in the chin ever so slightly. Relaxing the area around the jaw, through the cheeks, around the eyes. And if you haven't yet, go ahead and close down your eyes. At the edges of your lips, bring just a gentle smile, like a Mona Lisa smile, to inject some kind of joy into your practice. Going through about 10 rounds of breathing, allow any other tension to release from your body. And here is one more opportunity to make any adjustments to your posture, any shifting ever so slightly to help you sink in, park that body so you can go inwards. And try to become very still after you've made those adjustments. And bring to mind a habit or some kind of mental affliction that you've experienced in the last week. Maybe it's this thing that you constantly see yourself doing over and over and over again throughout your life. And maybe it feels like it's been there forever, like an old friend. And acknowledge that you have the karmic seeds to experience it. It's a part of your projections. But notice that it is impermanent. It is changeable, like clouds that obscure the sunlight. These afflictions aren't really who you are. Now imagine yourself as a Buddha that has already reached enlightenment. This being that has been to nirvana, that has accomplished total and complete enlightenment. They can see where all of your karmic seeds have come from. There is a deep compassion for the mental obscurations that you're still experiencing. And with this wisdom and compassion, a gentle light sparks at the center of your chest. It has the warmth of unconditional love and compassion. And it has this pure, clear light quality about it. And slowly this light grows brighter and brighter, spreading throughout your entire body from the center of your chest, expanding out to the torso, the arms, the fingers, down your legs, through your knees, your feet, filling you up all the way to the very top of your head and the edges of your skin. This is the light of wisdom and love. And it removes all mental obscurations, all mental afflictions. They're gone. They are overcome by compassion and wisdom. And knowing that this light is begging to reach out and touch every other suffering being from your heart, like a laser beam, begins to extend out to every being that's in this room. Filling them up and removing all of their mental obscurations as well. Completely obliterating them. They're gone. And this light again asking to go further, pulsating out from the hearts of every being in this room. Pulsates out to the city of Grand Rapids. Every being, every human, every animal, even every plant is touched by this light of wisdom and compassion, this antidote. And it continues to spread throughout the state of Michigan, throughout the United States, extending across the entire North American continent, through the oceans filled with the beings there, across the seas, and completely covering the entire planet. This love and compassion is available to us at all times. It's just how often are we caught in these mental afflictions that we have unknowingly cultivated throughout lifetimes. And it's our practice of returning to the limitless potential of what our mind has to offer, of not always seeing things as being permanent, of being unchangeable. And slowly, after allowing this light to remove the suffering of all beings, it begins to return back towards the center of your chest, leaving everything behind pure and free from suffering. And it condenses at the center of your chest into a small light that is brighter than a pulsating star, but smaller than a grain of sand, at the center of your heart. And on your next inhale, allow that light to dissipate throughout your entire being. And while this allows us to transform our point of view, there's still very real suffering in the world. And so if you could consider giving away this practice to one person that you know who is really having a hard time right now, bring them to mind and give this practice to them. Accumulate that karma, that good merit that Asanga did on his 12 years in retreat. And consider how, when you walk out of this room today, you can give this practice away. Slowly bring some movement into your limbs, your fingers and toes, leaving the last thing for you to do to open your eyes, just gently waking up the body. And whenever you're ready, open your eyes. Now that meditation is a slightly adapted version of a loving kindness visualization meditation that is taught in Tibetan monasteries. But the idea is the same. If our reality is projected from this stream of consciousness, how often are we considering that things are unchangeable and forgetting that all things, everything, and if you can find one thing in the world that is unchangeable, I'd like to talk about it. Please, let's have a discussion. Because that's what the Buddhists, at least the Tibetans, have been debating for many, many, many years. So thank you all for being here today. We are going to move into our joys and concerns. And joys and concerns are an opportunity for you to share anything that's been going on in your life that you'd like to celebrate or rejoice in, or anything that might be weighing heavily on your heart, and to give us all a call to mindfulness of those things. So we have someone who will come around with the microphone. All you got to do is raise your hand.
Good morning. I'm with the Fuji School Hokeko Lotus Group. The impartial benefits of Moho Rengeko spread equally to the farthest reaches of the universe, so that I, together with all other existence, may attain a tranquil state of enlightened life. Namo Rengeko, Moho Rengeko, Hobembo Daini. Mahorengeko Noraijiro Wondaijiroko Tika Takaborai Mahdiralen Klarochiro Takamudo Luxo Yubusin Amorengeko and Namarengeko. Life leads to death, death leads to life. Amorengeko, Honemo, start from now, from this moment on.
Good morning. I have a concern. My sweetie has been visiting a friend in Southern California since last week, Friday. And he was supposed to come home yesterday, excuse me, but his flight got delayed to Wednesday. And supposedly he is safe where he is right now, but I worry every day and just hope that he's going to be okay. And with that being said, there are a lot of people and animals and forests that aren't okay right now. So just keeping them in our thoughts.
Anaktara Sanmaksan Bodhi, Shenjin Strong, Namorengiko.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. I'm just happy to see everybody. This is my first time here. I've not sat for practice in 5 or 6 years, so it's very good to return to the Sangha, and I hope that everybody is having a good morning.
I'll take the mic. My name is Igye Sue. There are lots of environmental crises happening around the world, and you may or may not be aware that there was a 7.1 magnitude earthquake in Tibet, and many lives have been lost, and they are still sorting through the rubble. So please keep the people of Tibet in your thoughts. And on the positive side of things, I'm really grateful for the Sangha and an opportunity to practice in community. I feel that that is something that, as my study grows deeper, I didn't always see that that was something that was always available to me. And so I'd like to just rejoice in community.
I might have one as well. Was that lately, as we've all, anyone who's been listening to the news, is that Los Angeles and California, they've all been experiencing a series of wildfires. The numbers are, I'm not sure if the wildfires are still raging on, but the numbers are increasing in terms of how many people are either are getting killed as well as being injured by the wildfires. But for those who aren't affected directly by the wildfires are also affected indirectly, as many homes have been taken away from people living in the Los Angeles area. So I suppose we can all put our thoughts and prayers towards those who have been affected by the Los Angeles wildfires in recent times.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name is Chunko Su. A week ago from Thursday, we had to say goodbye to my cat of 16 years. And when I adopted her, I did not think that I would have this cat for 16 years. And it was, it's very different around the house. She was, whether I was up at 4 or 6 or whenever, she was always the first one to greet me. And so it's a lot more quiet around the house. But we had a nice ceremony with my children and have a nice resting place that we can visit. And I was grateful for the Heart Sutra. She would sit with me on my mat and cushion every morning. And when I would recite the Heart Sutra, it was almost kind of her call to come join me. And I would kind of kiss her on her head right here when we would finish. And it was kind of our thing. So I was grateful to be able to recite that in her passing moments. And it brought me some peace. And I'm hopeful it brought her some peace too. On a more positive side, I'm also very grateful. It's good to be back in the new year. Happy New Year to everyone, and thanks to everybody who has been so gracious in their time and energy. Thank you, Igye Sue, for the wonderful teaching. But for the cleaners, the people taking care of the plants, setting up the mats and cushions, cleaning the bathrooms and the Dharma hall, so we can all be here together in community is really special. Thank you all.
I recently helped a friend of mine move out of a difficult living situation. And it was tricky because it required some persuasion. And I saw the situation that she was in where she was having compassion for somebody who was poison. And the main arc of my adult life has been learning how to deal with that for myself. And so I am thankful that I had a friend who was capable of being persuaded and capable of letting go of her ego. And after we had our conversation, we went to her place and moved her things, and she's been a lot happier ever since. So hopefully the other person also works their issues out.
Do we have any online? So we're going to take a moment to hold space for the joys and concerns. And thank you for considering other beings, especially with some reflections in the world. holding that compassion in your heart. And we bow. So a couple announcements before we finish with our final gathas. We started the Bodhisattva Precepts program last week on Saturday. If you are interested in joining, I think you want to be doing it soon because at some point they're going to be in full swing in their study. And that's available to those who have taken the precept or the 5 moral precepts, which we will offer again in the fall if you are interested in continuing your practice. We have an online meditation group on Thursdays that I'm leading in the 7 limb practice or the 6 preliminaries. And it's encouraged $10 per class donation. Otherwise, nobody will be turned away for lack of funds. So if you're interested in more information and supportive material, recordings, some documents, other little things to support that practice, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'd be happy to make sure that you get in and join us. On Saturday, January 25th from 9 to 4 p.m., 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., we have an in-temple silent retreat. And if you're interested in that, contact Venerable Kunga. However, I do think it'll be on our website. Registration will be on our website if it isn't already. Love to see you there. We'll do some visualization practice, walking practice, sitting practice. You'll have an opportunity to talk with teachers if you have any burning questions about the practice that we might be able to help you with. We have an online meditation group on Wednesdays as well. This is a continuous class. It goes on. It's available to anybody in the Sangha. It's from 6 to 6:45 p.m. on Wednesday evenings. If you're interested in joining that, please contact Venerable Kunga. We have a Thursday Dharma discussion group, Thursday mornings, 9:30 to 11 a.m. And that meets here at the temple. And if you're interested, contact Reverend Jing Shu, Ryan Duffield, Jing Su, excuse me, for more information. We have a bi-weekly Avitamsaka Sutra study group from 7 to 9. The next meeting is 2 weeks. So not this Thursday, but Thursday after. And contact Will or Upasaka John for more information. And lastly, we have our Buddhist Space Recovery meetings on Mondays from 6:30 p.m. The meditation begins. 7 p.m. Is the meeting, and that meets here at the temple. On Wednesdays at the Alano Club at 6:30 p.m. And on Fridays, I believe it's here at the temple, or you can join via Zoom. And that starts at 9:05 a.m. for the meditation, 10:05 a.m. for the meditation, and 10:30 the meeting begins. And you can contact Venerable Yang Su or really anybody at the temple for more information on that. Lastly, do we have somebody doing a Dana announcement? Okay, so I'll do the Dana announcement. This temple operates solely off of donations. You can sign up to be a monthly donor online through PayPal, or if you have the means to, there's a QR code on the box that you can scan to donate, or you can drop a couple of bucks in, or donate goods, tissue, toilet paper, all that kind of good stuff. That's also incredibly useful here at the temple. Or donate your time. So come early, help set up, lint roll the cushions, anything you can to serve. We're also always open to having more tea downstairs because there's lots of different flavors that people prefer. Another teaching in emptiness. Although I might like chai tea, not everybody likes chai tea. So please come and share your favorite tea. And that is also an invitation to join us after service today for a cup of tea downstairs and discussion. We do have a library downstairs if you're interested in checking out books. So if you find something that's interesting, there's a checkout sheet down there that you can take some books home for a couple weeks and and bring them back so the next person can use them. Are there any other announcements that I'm missing? Awesome. I think there is one. If you're thinking about joining an introduction to meditation class, we will have one available in February. And that'll meet here at the temple. And I believe the information for that will be on our website soon if it isn't already. All right. We got one last thing to do, our checklist of good merit. We need to chant our closing gathas together. So if you'll go ahead and stand up. And together we say, for all unskillful action ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thoughts, now I atone for them all. Vast is the robe of compassion, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Buddhist teachings for the benefit of all sentient beings. All beings, one body, I vow to liberate. Endless blind passion, I vow to uproot. Dharma gates without number, I vow to enter. The great way of Buddha, I vow to attain. And if this side of the room will turn and face this side of the room. One final bow. Thank you everyone for joining today. The one thing that I will ask is if you can straighten up your cushions so they're somewhat neat and tidy, the same way you left them, maybe aligning them helps with our services throughout the week with other groups that use the space. Somebody will come around and collect booklets, or please just step right in. Thank you, everyone. Absolutely.